The Long Road to True Happiness by WierdRandomTina. Chapter 28. A Sweet Good Night. It was nearing sunset on Tuesday, and Branch was busying himself with filling his knapsack, the ingredients for his herbal berry honey tea, a container of edible mushrooms, a jar of mild spices, the little red notebook and pencil, plus his foldable tent and even a sleeping bag, though it needed to be stored in his hair because he ran out of space. The grey loner could hardly believe he was preparing to attend another camp-out. Yesterday afternoon, Branch had spent an hour at Poppy's pod, looking over some of her scrapbooks together. As he was about to leave, she had announced the invitation. And when he outright said, "Yeah, I'll come," she stared blankly at him for so long he had asked if she was okay. Her response was a glass-shattering squeal followed by a hug that nearly broke his neck. The camp-out was going to be very similar to the last one, except for two small details. Firstly, he was actually planning to spend the night, and secondly, 3 more trolls were going to join, bringing the total up to 11, excluding him. But as long as Creek wasn't one of those trolls, and thankfully that slimeball never would be again, Branch was pretty sure he could handle a few extra faces. There were also 2 minor differences with himself compared to the last time. He wasn't nearly as nervous, didn't cower in the bushes or act like the campers would attack him at any second, and he managed to arrive on time. Early, in fact. Only Poppy, DJ Suki, and one of the newcomers was there, who Poppy introduced as Fuzzbert. Branch had definitely seen this guy around. He was a very easily recognizable troll, as his entire body was a stout lime green hair tuft, with 2 short orange legs sticking out at the bottom. And he didn't talk at all, which was an added bonus for Branch. Shortly, Cooper, Satin, Chenille, and Guy Diamond strolled in, behaving their usual, random chatting to no one in particular, arguing over a fashion trend, and lightly boasting about himself. Next, Biggie approached from the opposite side, alongside a plump, purple-skinned teenage girl wearing light green overalls. The new friend Poppy had mentioned a while ago, named Legsy. It was interesting that her legs held the extending ability/flexibility rather than her pumpkin orange hair, which was tied into 2 pigtails and long messy bangs that almost covered her emerald green eyes. She was quite exuberant with a loud squeaky voice, but respected Branch's personal space and quiet nature. Smidge was the last to arrive, confidently holding hands with her new boyfriend, Milton Moss. He had pale mauve skin, a small round purple nose, sandy orange hair, thick auburn eyebrows, and dark green eyes. The veterinarian wore long brown pants, a pale yellow shirt, and a blue hoodie to replace his usual formal white jacket. He was very mellow, gentle, mature, and soft-spoken. The polar opposite of Smidge. Almost as opposite as Poppy and I. I suppose different personalities really are the most compatible. While Smidge and Poppy mingled with all their pals, Branch hung back. To his surprise, Milton didn't join the crowd, and instead approached him. Milton nodded respectfully. "Good evening. Is it all right if I join you over here?" Branch gave an equal nod. "Sure. My name's Milton Moss, veterinarian, otherwise known as the village's criterinarian." He held out his hand in greeting. Not over-the-top friendliness, just basic, calm politeness. "Nice to meet you," he said genuinely, accepting the handshake. "I'm Branch, otherwise known as, the village recluse, I guess." Milton responded to the humble introduction with a small laugh. But it was kindly, not mocking. "I think there's a lot more to you than just that. Safety expert, healer, builder, painter, poet, Princess Poppy's best friend. A diamond in the rough was how she put it." Branch glanced over at Poppy, who was speaking expressively to Legsy and Guy. He smiled a little at Milton's words, which were clearly all her words. She didn't refer to him as the grey grump hermit, but she also didn't make it sound like he loves fun now and is so happy and confident. It was a straightforward, honest response. "Maybe former recluse would be a less extreme term," Milton continued. "I don't know about former," Branch politely countered. "I'm still very much a recluse. Pardon me for saying this, but you're out here, Spending time with us, aren't you? Yeah, but this is only my second camp out, ever. Smidge said you scrapbooked with the gang one day, and you've attended quite a few activities around the village. All very minor activities. It still counts as village activity. Branch ducked his head and nodded loosely, accepting that he was going to lose the friendliest argument he'd ever had. Well, yes, I suppose that's true. Let's settle for partial recluse, then. I'm relatively comfortable now in smaller groups with familiar faces, but you won't see me attending a village-wide mega-party, or anything even remotely close. Milton was still undeterred. There's nothing wrong with that, Branch. To tell you the truth, I tend to skip a lot of the largest parties and events. His forest green eyes lit up with amusement at Branch's look of surprise. Believe it or not every troll is a hardcore partier 24/7. My neighbour, Karma, and the popular florist Meadow Springs, also like solitude. Serious Dr. Moonbloom focuses on her job 99% of the time. There's a well-known actor named Dennis, who is also known for making elaborate excuses to avoid events. Sky Toronto spends so much time fueling everyone else's fun that he rarely has any himself. And there are some trolls who generally like to participate in more relaxing activities. I do enjoy the thrill of vibrant celebrations, dancing along to delightful music, and playing exciting games. But I can also appreciate a little rest and relaxation. Sometimes I prefer peace and quiet. Other times I prefer to have fun. Nothing says you have to strictly choose between one or the other. Now this was a troll Branch could easily get along with. Where had this guy been all these years? The answer was that Milton Moss lived on the west outskirts of the village, while Branch's bunker was in the eastern forest way beyond the village. They had heard briefly of each other, but never properly crossed paths. Milton and Branch's laid-back discussion moved on to exchanging information about various critter activities, and knowledge of healing, Crittenarian versus Survivalist. Eventually all 12 trolls gathered around the fire. On the longest log was Poppy, Branch, Milton and Smidge. The log right next to them was occupied by Guy, Suki and Fosbert. Satin and Chenille settled onto the left log, sitting as far apart as possible, looking as if they'd just had an argument. On the other side of the fire, Legsy, holding Mr. Dinkles, Biggie and Cooper were the last to get seated. Poppy initiated the story/joke telling again. Legsy told a clumsy joke that wasn't too funny, but out of respect everyone laughed along anyway. Fosbert wrote out a joke and had Suki read it aloud for him. It was funny enough that Branch let out a sincere chuckle. Milton told the true story about how he had rescued a turtle when he was a child, and how that event inspired him to devote his life to helping any and all critters in need. Smidge was staring at him the whole time with the most lovesick expression Branch had ever seen. He couldn't help but chuckle for 2 reasons. Who knew that hardcore little troll had such a sensitive side? At least I'm not that obvious with Poppy. When the end of the circle landed on Branch once again, Poppy casually inquired, "Well, Branch, looks like it's your turn. Do you have something for us?" Branch was prepared this time. Last night he studied an entire library book to find the perfect thing. But now everyone's eyes had turned to him. He felt a bit hesitant. Yeah. A nervous little voice rang in his head. What if they think it's lame? What if they've heard it already? What if I get the words wrong? Poppy brightened. She probably had another joke/story in mind in case he skipped this activity again. Great! Awesome! Let's hear it! Story or joke? Well, actually, it's more of a riddle. That works too. Let's hear it. After some extra gentle encouragement from Biggie, Legsy, Suki, Cooper, Guy and Smidge, who was trying to be gentle but as usual sounded more aggressive, Branch cleared his throat, raised his voice and recited, I never was, but will always be. No one has ever seen me, yet everyone knows I exist. What am I? Everyone immediately put their thinking caps on, but everyone was stumped. Even after he repeated it twice for them, no one could come up with an effective answer. Suki blurted out the first thought that came to mind. Sadness? Okay, that somehow sounded offensive out loud. You're Branch! No, wait, you're a troll? You're a troll named Branch? Cooper wasn't too skilled at riddles. The perfect fashion trend. Chenille, that doesn't make any sense. It so does, Satin. Biggie, Legsy, and Milton were putting in the most effort. Memories? Gravity? Wind? Life! Darkness! Love! No, ghosts! It's ghosts! Is the answer time? Smidge and Guy were putting in the least effort. I got nothing, you guys. My brain hurts. Fosbert stated he had heard this riddle before, so it was only fair not to spoil it for the others. Oh, that's a tough one, Branch. Why did Poppy have to look so cute when she was deep in thought? Is it a secret? I mean, literally, is the answer a secret? No, what about memories? Oh wait, Biggie already said that. Finally, Branch put them out of their misery and revealed the answer. Tomorrow. He watched as the gears turned in their brains. He could practically hear each troll repeating the riddle and connecting the dots. It was actually quite amusing. And then everyone's eyes lit up, almost in unison. Ah, I get it! That makes sense. Tricky. Good one, Branch. Very clever. I never would have guessed that. Next, the group played a few rounds of charades. Though Branch's riddle had resulted in a positive response, he did not feel comfortable enough acting in front of an audience like that, so they gladly passed over his turn when he requested they do so. He knew how to play charades, but had never actually participated in it before. It turned out to be highly entertaining, much more than he imagined it would be. Between the goofy, exaggerated gestures, the ridiculously inaccurate guesses, and Princess Poppy's adorable giggling beside him, Branch didn't even realize he'd been so lightly laughing much of the time, until his jaw and stomach muscles had grown sore. To contribute to the snack handout, Fosbert brought a bowl of assorted sour candies. Legacy revealed a huge fudge cake, and Milton introduced some mini cream-cheesed cinnamon buns. Branch helped himself to a couple of candies, a very small slice of cake, and one cinnamon bun. Instead of piling more junk food into the mix, the grey turquoise troll had chosen a more practical approach, and brought enough supplies to make everyone his signature tea and roasted spiced mushrooms. Both were a hit among all the trolls, especially Milton, who politely asked if he could have both recipes. Then came the poetry contest. The original 8 campers didn't hesitate to elaborate on how amazing Branch's skills were during the last campout. The introverted troll responded with a brief eye roll in an attempt to hide his embarrassment. That little blunder may have ended up working in his favour, but it had still been a blunder, and their kind praise only helped remind him of how mortified he had felt. Legsy's poem was probably meant to be cute and sweet, though it ended up being silly. But the bubbly teen was undeterred, and laughed along with all her friends. Fosbert wrote out his poem, and Suki voiced it again. It was very well worded and creative. Milton's too was decent, albeit a bit sappy, earning him 3rd place. Not that there were any actual prizes, plus a heavily blushing, bashful Smidge. But, again, it was Branch who was unanimously nominated as the winner. You're every wish I've ever wished upon a shooting star, every time the light of day fades. You're every dream I've ever dreamed of, when the wish to awaken and continue that lives in that dream. Perhaps one bright sunrise, that wish of a dream may come true at last. He had been tactfully aiming for a message that was meaningful but not overly cheesy, one that Poppy would assume he was directed at her, but not obvious enough for the others to pick up on the hint. It was effective. A slight blush appeared on Poppy's freckled cheeks as she brushed the hair out of her face, while their friends applauded obliviously, apart from Milton. Based on his soft side glance, the level-headed veterinarian already knew exactly what was being implied. However, he was also respectful enough to keep any verbal comments to himself. Eventually, the chit-chat died down, and everyone headed to their tents. Most of the trolls clustered around one side of the clearing. Branch set up at the other end, in a more sheltered area along the perimeter. When the others tucked into their sleeping bags, and most of them half snoring already, Poppy went over to see how Branch was settling in. He hadn't closed his tent yet, and was sitting cross-legged at the end of his sleeping bag, staring down at his notepad in hand. Poppy thought he would have noticed her approach in some way, but when she said his name, he nearly leapt out of his skin. "Sorry, I'm sorry," she apologized in a hushed voice to avoid alerting the others. "I really thought you heard or saw me. I was not trying to sneak up on you." Branch warm-heartedly rolled his eyes, shifting to sit comfortably again. "It's okay, it's fine. I really wasn't paying attention, I guess." "No kidding? What were you so deep in thought about?" "Oh, just some new building plans I have." That wasn't even near the truth. The truth was, Branch had been remembering the moment that he and Poppy had first confessed their feelings. Or more specifically, the kisses that had followed. This was definitely not the first time that vivid memory had been occupying his mind. More like the 20th or 30th time. And he couldn't deny how much he longed for another. Those first two were over a week ago, and they were so minor. He had accidentally spotted Milton and Smidge exchange a tender kiss before heading to their tents. And honestly, it made Branch kind of envious. Not to mention it made the mental image of sharing that kind of affection with Poppy even harder to ignore. He may have gained some confidence lately, but there was still no way in flipping hair he could ask her for something like that. We aren't technically together, after all. Maybe she doesn't even want another kiss. The pretty pink princess accepted his answer with a warmly exasperated, "More building plans? What more could you possibly build in that bunker? I hope it's a game room or something." "Did you need something from me? Or did you just want to scare the hair off me?" Poppy giggled, loving his soft grumpiness. "Once again, I did not mean to scare you." She settled down in front of him, tucking her legs underneath to sit on, before continuing. "I just wanted to say, it was really nice to hear you laughing. I've never heard you laugh so much."
"Yeah, I never have laughed so much. At least, not since I was a trolling. It felt good to laugh again. Well, sort of."
He put his hand over his stomach and grimaced.
"It also kinda hurts."
She giggled sweetly again. "You get used to it."
"Maybe I actually could."
Before Branch's thoughts could wander any further, Poppy started to fidget. Glance at the ground, tug at her blue dress, scratch at her arm, which was very odd of her. It was almost as if the outgoing princess was nervous.
Was there something else?
Yeah, sorta. She shyly brushed her fluffy magenta bangs away from her eyes again, before shuffling a bit closer. "I also wanted to give you a prize for winning the poetry competition again."
"I didn't think you handed out prizes for the poetry competitions."
"Well, no. Normally I don't. But all of your poems are always so beautiful and special and really sweet, so I think you deserve a prize."
"Oh. Thanks. If you want to, then sure. What kind of prize?"
Probably a box of more junk food, or a cute but cheesy card, or one of those flimsy fake trophies. "A good night kiss?"
Or a good night kiss. She was asking, Poppy was asking, to give him a kiss. Branch's jaw dropped. His mind froze. His heart swelled.
"If that's okay."
Princess Poppy was asking to kiss him. That meant she wanted to kiss him again. And that meant she wanted him to kiss her.
She was also waiting for an answer, patiently, but with a tiny hint of light apprehension. The pink princess sat there with a delicate smile, a slightly tilted head, and an unwavering gaze. Branch was so stunned by her question he almost forgot to respond. His head gave an involuntary little nod, and a warm shiver jolted up his spine, when Poppy's beautiful eyes lit up like two fuchsia glow bugs. With half-lidded eyes, she slowly leaned forward. Branch instinctively closed his eyes as she neared, and she let her eyes fully close as she closed the distance between them. He was expecting another brief peck like before, but 1 second passed, then 2, 3, and she still wasn't pulling away. Her lips were still over his. Branch's heart cartwheeled at the sensation, as did Poppy's, when she felt his lips press gently against her own. 2 hearts pounded like drums in a rapid rhythm, surely loud enough for the other campers to hear, surely hard enough to break through their rib cages. The entire forest could have turned into a dance party around them, and neither would have noticed. After a few more seconds, Poppy unhurriedly ended the sweet kiss. It took an extra second or two for Branch's blue-grey eyes to flicker open. Somehow, he appeared even more love-struck than before. Not to mention the princess had never seen any troll blush as much as he was. There was even a dark purple tinge spreading into the roots of his hair. Come to think of it, her own face felt a few shades pinker too. "Good night, Branch." Poppy gently placed her tiny hand on his very warm cheek. "Sleep well." She didn't speak another word as she exited his tent. He physically couldn't speak, so he merely stared after her as she exited his tent. Neither troll had ever experienced chills and warmth at the same time. Neither thought it would be possible to be dizzy and weak, yet bubbling with energy. Neither could have imagined a sensation so strong it made them feel both sick and euphoric. It had been such a simple little gesture, yet neither Branch nor Poppy ever wanted that wonderful memory to fade. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Oh my god, I frigging love that. That was one of my favourite chapters. I've been looking forward to doing that one for ages. Milton basically being the friend that Branch needs in a calm, collected way. And he and Smidge are adorable. The tough, cute little one with the calm, quiet, mellow one. And about his attitude, I think he has the attitude that Creek wishes he had. You know, he's the genuine article. Creek's just a copy. And of course, Branch and Poppy having a proper kiss. Oh my days. These two are gonna kill me. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye, my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video.